we're live here in the new podcast. Welcome, boys. Welcome.
Mr. Balin, Mr. Haddon.
Great to be in the studio. Great to have you. Every time I walk in here, something's different.
It's about to change again. This is 1.0.
In a good way.
Dude, J-Rock's been cranking this room out.
I know.
Like crack rock on 10.
It's a little passion project.
Yeah.
Hey, you
For
guys,
sure.
we all agreed we need a podcast studio, so we're going to do it the right way. We got a proper audio board. We got a proper video board.
Yeah.
Last time we had RJ in here last week, shit wasn't good.
Well, Ian's breath stunk too, and we were all too close.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, that's always been the issue with the podcast studio. It's kind of a little room, and then you have gigantic Ian right in the middle. So we'll find a good home for him. So today we got Chris Haddon from Hard Money Bankers in the house. Welcome. We got Glenn Younes in the house. We got myself, Jason Balin from Hard Money Bankers in the house. And
Jay, is this the first time that Howard County Chris has been on the air?
I've been on
probably
DC Chris,
since he moved to Howard
DC
County.
Chris on the air a lot. Howard County Chris, I don't know.
It's hard to
Could
say
be.
what you consider on the air because I feel like I'm on video all the time anyway, and one
Who knows? If it's
one
like
format or another,
on a podcast or an interview or
a podcast or an interview or a meetup or like
Yeah.
it's something
In
like,
studio, yes.
I mean, Howard County Chris is going on 2 years, so I mean,
Is it really?
yeah.
Well,
Pandemic.
No.
Oh, you mean a
on
homeowner
type, yeah,
purchased?
homeowner.
All right. We're
not
like
living,
6.
not
You were like
domicile.
6 or 7 months into
Has
that.
it been that long?
July.
Shit.
Isn't
flies.
Isn't that how it's been though? It's like, oh shit, it's been. By the way, as we're recording this, it's almost to the date 2 full years.
Yeah, it's getting there,
We're a
right?
week-
Beginning of March.
We're a
Yeah,
week
yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
2 full years of COVID.
I mean, so everything's like 6 months. It's like really been that long? It's like, bro, it's been 2 years.
Yeah. That's how it is. The whole
That's wild, isn't it?
2019 winter
Yeah.
blended to today.
Yeah.
For the most part.
No, that's right.
And that was a long, 2019. I mean, we do a lot of content. We're actively doing things. So I'm always looking at dates, like on my
Right.
phone and on pictures. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that seemed like a long time ago.
Everything to me is sort of related to events that I do, whether it's with the Ed Reed Foundation or Corner Unit Media or whatever. See, I don't need an intro. I just work it in.
Got it.
And Miami Super Bowl 2019 season into 2020, that ended February 6th or whatever of 2020, was the start of basically COVID because we had started hearing about it when we were down there. We had a couple events back in Baltimore in early March. We did something on March 7th, and that was really the last thing. March 7th, 2020 was the last thing. So it's just very interesting to be 2 years deep into it. But we've gotten off topic with that. Jay, you put in a ton of work in this studio. It looks phenomenal. 1.0 was like a couple weeks ago with Ian and RJ and you hosting an awesome podcast that I was standing outside watching and listening to it live on Facebook and other platforms. You've added a new audio board. You've added a new video board. You've added new cameras. We have, I think Stage A has agreed to Studio A to Stage, I should say.
I think so.
And
there still can be a little bit miscommunication with her, but
yeah, we'll get it there. We're going to rip we put these sound tiles up because we needed something to soundproof this room because while it's small, it's big enough that it echoes. We're going to rip all this down, put something a little bit more chic, and I don't know.
yeah, it looked good in
Yeah.
It looked good in real time. It's a little bit ugly now,
It's
but
good
it
enough.
serves a purpose.
Exactly.
And a lot of our camera
Certainly good
angles.
enough.
Looks, these are the camera angles. This is a full shot right here. This is the two hosts. We got our guests right here.
2 hoes.
So
2 O's.
so it works. There's a lot of different ways it works.
Right,
And
look at these 2
Still
hoes
funny.
over here.
Still funny.
so Ian Horowitz is obviously co-host, and he's on assignment today.
It's
So
He's in the field.
Is
Is he in Ukraine?
That's exactly the
So-
way.
Is he in
okay.
Ukraine reporting back for the podcast?
Dude, I know this idiot who went there. Be like, man, it's a lifestyle perspective. It's like, bro, what are you doing? He's posting it all over Facebook just for the,
Like not professionally, just for himself.
correct.
You can do that.
I don't know.
you can. Yeah,
He
I mean,
might even not be there. He might be
not be able to
Anadelvi.
get
There
back.
might be a
but
green screen behind him, and he's like, dude, I'm at the war front. He's doing it just for Facebook.
We'll get to
likes.
Anna Delvey in a little bit because that's definitely
fair enough.
That's its own podcast in itself. That's its own podcast in itself. No, so this is the deal. So yesterday, so Ian knows we kind of have a standing podcast every Wednesday.
Yeah.
We try to come to the office, like we put money, resources, time
Yeah.
into building out a proper podcast to interview some of local's best, right? Anybody local who wants to hop on with us that has a
You
good
guys have
good
had
story.
national guys too, though.
We do, but we're trying to get more people in house.
In the Mid-Atlantic, Baltimore,
In,
D.C.
and in the studio.
Yeah.
It's a nice studio.
Oh, you mean like standing guest
That's right.
in the region in studio.
In
Yeah.
person.
No, we're constantly doing stuff. With other guests all over the country through StreamYard and stuff like that. So yesterday I get a spam email. Ian gets the same spam email.
Oh, dude,
And
I clicked on one yesterday too.
Yeah, and it's from. I mean, it was a broadcast email. Maybe not a spam email. Maybe that was. The wrong
Oh no,
term.
I got hacked.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about your hacking in
Yeah.
a second. So, so we get it. We get an email, and it's I get this all the time. They see our podcast on iTunes, on YouTube, and they want to book guests for us.
Yeah.
Right. It's a paid service.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of different variations. I get them every day. Ian gets them once in a while. Right. So maybe he was fooled that this is going to a lot of people, not just me and you, Ian. But regardless, so he hits me up. This is yesterday at like 4:00. He hits me up.
Bro, I got one.
He hits me up and he was like, "Hey, I'm really thinking about retaining this lady's services to get us guests." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, we have plenty of guests."
Yeah,
and he's
I
like,
know
"Yeah,
we're
but then
coming
we can
on
get
here
more
to
and more
roast you.
guests." And I'm like, "Okay, well, what time are you going to be in the office tomorrow so we can do our
Yeah,
podcast?"
yeah,
He's like,
yeah.
"Oh yeah, about that. I can't do it tomorrow." Well, the
What
week
are you
before,
paying
the week,
for?
it's the same thing. I was like, "What's the point of having all these guests?"
Right.
Like, he's super motivated to do podcasts, and I know he is.
Yeah.
But and I live 14 minutes from here. He lives 14 hours from here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, as soon as you made the studio, he moved to another state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's
Even further
the-
away than he already
the
lived.
point
prior.
is
Right.
like I have on my calendar, hey, 11 o'clock every Wednesday, we have a standing
well, as an
time
investor
to
in a
do
lot
it.
of Ian's stuff, we should all be happy that he's busy.
Agreed.
But
So
the
Good point.
podcast
No,
is
fair
a
point.
very high level activity too.
Agreed.
And it speaks to, by the way, I think what you're saying to the audience in general is it speaks to the shuffle, the juggle, and the hustle that we all go through. So, a lot of the content on this podcast is geared towards real estate investors. And I've heard you, I don't want to say you've changed your tune, but I think that you've pivoted a little bit off of your stances. And I think it's smart the way, and I think it was nerd Thomas Jefferson that said, like, you can, a smart person always changes their thoughts or something like that. Or maybe it was Edison or Jefferson, one of the Thomases. Some guy named Thomas
one of the
said
Thomas.
it's smart to change your thoughts with new
they're-
information. And Jason, you've been heavy on one of the Thomases. If you've
Thomas
been
from 1883, maybe.
yeah, someone from
I
Thomas
mean,
in the
could be an
1800s.
athlete. There's a lot of Thomases.
Yeah, there's
but anyways,
tons of Thomases.
Go ahead.
Thomas's English muffins.
a lot of public speakers and quotes coming from Thomases.
Is you've been very heavy in a positive way on the people that have a full-time job, but also hustle real estate on the side. So it gives them the mental and financial freedom to know that they can go after it, knowing they have a sort of backstop of their day-to-day 9 to 5. And so in saying that is this content is for the everyday investor and certainly the savvy investor too. But Ian is a big-time investor, as we know, and we've talked about his portfolio on these podcasts before, and he's still juggling. So it's like the hustle, the juggle,
sure.
the struggle
Yeah, he's
never
busy.
ends, and that speaks to that.
He's busy, and I don't want to be like, hey, don't do this. Like right now, we joke he's on assignment, so he's in
Yeah.
West Virginia for 2 days. I guess he's
Yeah.
sleeping there. I mean, he's like, I got to go to West Virginia for the next 2 days because there's a really good opportunity. I think multifamily near his current multifamily
Yep.
that he wants to underwrite, and I'm guessing his whole team's going down there. So again, I don't want to talk him not to do that. That is high level.
Yeah, I
and
want to
should
give
be
him
doing
money
that.
to
Oh,
put
of
into
course.
The
that.
point is if you want to do a podcast, let's fucking do a podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but you could miss a podcast for an acquisition, right?
Yeah, but not if. But
I'll counter that with that's why you have multiple hosts.
true.
Sure.
There's also it's like, hey, you got a standing time at Wednesday, work around it,
Yeah, I agree.
and you're every
Another good point.
You've taught me that years ago. Is like you calendar and it sticks.
after calendars,
Yeah,
you
it
can't
works very
you
well,
can't
doesn't
have
it?
that as a backup. And if it's
For
not,
sure.
and listen,
That's
Whatever's
probably the easiest easy button ever is calendar something
dude,
in.
it's the easiest thing ever
I mean,
because it's like, oh, I can't do it, and then it's fine.
That's right.
I'm not saying he could have gone Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday. That's not the point. The point is whatever your priorities are. And if they're not the podcast, that's okay.
It's actually easier to put something on your calendar and fit something around it than to have a totally empty calendar and to
Oh,
be
yeah.
like, oh, I'm totally free.
Yeah.
No one even understands that because
Which they're not.
well, you're not really actually free. You just don't have anything in writing, and then you double book, and it's a fucking shit show.
That's right.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's easier to calendar and fit in.
On the other side of that, I always get annoyed when there are things that are lingering on the calendar, like a repeat thing,
Yeah.
that aren't happening.
Oh yeah. Like
Does that ever happen to you guys?
I have a 10
Yeah.
a.m. I have
Well,
a
give me
10
an example.
I have a
Give me
10
an
a.m.
example.
creative every Tuesday with Justin, my writing partner, right? My writing partner. But it's what it is. And we commit to that about 90% of the time. But for a couple weeks stretch there, we had to both push it because I was away in LA and he had to go do something else. And we both felt like we were slacking and we felt like something was missing. And it was like, why do we have this on our calendar if we're not going to do
Right.
it? And it wasn't negative towards each other. It was our own internal insecurity that we weren't living up to our commitment.
Yeah, I have one going on recently with an appointment with my trainer for Thursday. Thursday at 3:15, I think it is. I never see him
Smack in the
Thursday at
middle of the
3:15.
Oh, really?
No, every week we start negotiating when we can both fit it in.
Oh,
And so I'm like, why is this on the?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my calendar, and I get his reminders. I'm like, why is this still on there? You know,
You still
little things like that. I even have my own internal ones.
Yeah,
I just deleted one recently where I used to every Friday morning try to schedule people to interview for when I was doing contribution to Inman and this and that.
Yeah.
I haven't been doing that in a while. I did one recently, but that has been on my Friday morning calendar forever. And so after a year, I just like delete it from my calendar. I'm like, why is
It's
this
front
here?
of mind though. At least you're seeing it every day,
I
right?
know.
And then you determine
I
how
If you wanna
important it
put
is.
to it. Yeah, that's interesting.
I
I
mean,
know.
it's dude. I used to do that when we had Tony Mayo coaching. I was doing that with certain things, metrics that I wanted to follow, and I wasn't. And he was like, "If you're not going to do this, take this off your calendar." I was like, "But this
Right.
is important to me." And he's like, "It's not important to you because if it was, you would do it." And I have things like that as well.
Yeah.
What I do, which is I think similar to the way you have it, is I organize a lot of my day through my calendar. I mean, obviously I use note cards and to-do lists and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
the calendar is a good way to do it because I live in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm constantly pushing things from like, I don't feel like doing that today. I got too busy. I'm going to do it on Thursday. I'm going to do it on Friday. I'm going to do it the next day. And I constantly catch myself doing that, or I'll just push it back 2 weeks because it is something that's important. It just might not be a priority.
Yeah.
And it's just front of mind. At least you get to see it.
I
Like,
do
makes
it
you-
on. I have a running like digital note tab on my, and I sort of move around the priority. I don't calendar that to do stuff. The one thing is, and we're all productive and profitable and high functioning individuals, but for me, and I alluded to when I was talking about Justin, is and maybe it's because it's true. Maybe I push too much stuff off, but I really have like an insecurity about pushing things off because I do push stuff, but I also prioritize stuff. So I don't give myself the credit for that prioritization piece, but I knock myself for the rescheduling or pushing off or, prioritizing properly. Because I could sit here and make an excuse being like, no, I prioritized properly. That's why I pushed it off because I put something else more important in front of it. And maybe at the end of the year, you look at your income and your profits and you say, okay, you did it right. Or maybe you look at it and you go, you did it right, but man, it could have been so much better. But where I fail in that is I never give myself credit. I only knock myself. But I think I knock myself honest assessment because I think I'm pushing too much stuff off. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Maybe. As
No,
long as
it's also interesting how people use a to-do list
Yeah.
versus a calendar,
Yeah.
right? Because there's like stuff that could cross over.
Oh, yeah.
And how you kind of divide that is like just something I got to do today. I don't need to calendar that, right?
Yeah.
It's on my list. And so it's just interesting how people
Yeah.
choose to organize that.
But you know what's interesting is I'm sure you guys both get this because I probably learned it from you both, is the excitement I get when I cross or delete something
me
off of my
too.
to-do list. It is
nothing makes
Me
me
too.
happy,
awesome.
I
but
like
not,
that.
but
God damn.
but not digitally, like in person.
Oh,
Like,
I'm
well, on a note
physically
card.
on my
To me,
pad.
when I don't
Yeah.
see it on my
Or that,
Oh,
yeah.
sure.
note card,
Yeah, sure.
it's the same thing as scratching it
Oh,
out.
that is great.
It is so fucking exhilarating to get that off of my check the box or whatever, and not for like box checking sake, but actually being like, wow, I did that. It's out of my brain, onto the next thing. And for
Yeah.
me, it's not about like, because we don't have bosses. It's not about like, does somebody know I checked a box or I did this? It's getting it out of for me, and I don't know about you guys, it's getting it out of my brain
That's
so it
what-
doesn't
Oh, yeah.
take up fucking mental bandwidth so I can put the only thing I have, which is my brain, to something more,
Oh, yeah.
something else.
Well, because a lot of those things, it's just anxiety. You're anxious to just get it done, and it's not a big task. It
Yeah.
take 5 minutes. It could be something little,
Yeah.
and you're just like, oh, finally.
It's just looming
yeah,
in
and
your
it's just-
head.
and it's sitting there.
Yeah.
And it's sitting there. That's why I kind of, it's interesting. I organize stuff differently. Like sometimes I use everything on my calendar. Sometimes I use a note card. Sometimes I use notepad that I have in my office. I switch it up a
Yeah,
little
same.
bit depending on where I'm at. And
It makes me feel a little scattered, but it's how I have to operate, and I've tried to sort of trim the fray on that for me, and I can't. And it's because I need that sort of it's not mental freedom, but the feeling of like mental freedom that I'm not locked into one platform. That's what you know what I'm saying? Because like if I had to put everything in my calendar, I would feel restricted. If I had to put everything on my note card, I would feel restricted. I want to be able to dump when I want to dump, where I want to dump it, and then at some point I'll organize. But
Float like a butterfly.
sting like a bee.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I see that.
I don't know.
I also get kind of excited when you're talking about like clear stuff out so that you can use your brain to do stuff. I get excited when I see a day with nothing on my calendar. And I'm like, all right, now it's go time for me. Now I can do this stuff I've been trying to get to
Yeah.
because I don't have these calendar things getting in my way.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't look at it at all like that, and I hope I never do because it'll turn me off of my calendar. Because because I think we're in two different calendar stages. You're in like expert calendar, and I'm like probably like novice or intermediate.
I'm no calendar black belt. This is just like individual preference.
I only put. I mean, there's only a few things on my calendar most days. Like
Mine
I don't
too.
have a.
Mine too.
I have a few things a day.
Yeah.
Usually, and so if I see a blank
my
one, I'm
calendar
like,
right
all
now.
right, game on.
Everyone leave me alone. I can work.
Game on. Everyone already has left me alone.
Yeah.
Game on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mhm.
It's very interesting. I mean, obviously, I'm in a little different world than you guys because I'm mostly in a creative or fundraising world with my sort of 12 hats that I wear. And I don't have, I mean, I have contractors and stuff and clients, but I don't have any staff. Well, I do have some staff. Maybe it's not all that different. I was going to say.
You have no coffin in the studio.
I'm a little
bro.
bit- yeah,
It's
dude.
still 2022.
Yeah, I can't believe I ever let you guys breathe on me anyway. I was going to say is I'm more of in a creative role in a lot of times, and so I need like, really, I just want time to think. And like you'll see me sitting on my couch in my office or like laying down with my phone in my hand or not in my hand or the lights on or off or whatever because I'm thinking about something and I'm coming up with my next whatever that might be.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's, getting out of the weeds and getting into the
Yeah, I mean, for each their own. I mean, some people need to book out everything
Yeah.
with a lot of discipline every day, right? And this is my my full schedule. Don't interrupt me. This is everything that's going to get done. There's filler spots.
Yeah.
And some kind of start with an open slate and figure out, hey, what direction am I going to go in today? And I think different days are different. I devote Wednesdays. I try to do a lot of content stuff on Wednesdays. That's where my head is with things. Being it all out, do a podcast like this, do a Private Money Minute. Chris and I are doing a podcast with one of our Hard Money Mastermind members here in a second after this. So
I mean, I really learned a lot from you guys over the last handful of years about sort of that, like how you calendar a day, what your to-do list looks like how do you optimize a day? Because I came from full like radio and like a little TV where like I'm sort of in a studio locked down. Like I never had to
Yeah, you're
create
booked.
I'm booked.
this is home for you right here, baby.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I wonder, for me personally, and I wonder if how I personally would function in what you just described, Jay, of like super calendar lockdown, like everything has to be super deliberate.
Well,
and
some of your days are
intentional
like
every
that.
day. Some days are. But if I had to do that every day, maybe it's a mental like crutch, preconceived notion for me, or like a limiting belief. But I feel like I would be crippled by a tight schedule.
Not
like
if it's
that.
things that you want to do, though.
True.
It's hard to say. I could have both feelings as well. Like I know some people like to calendar their entire day, even if it's like a calendar for like reading and thinking, like Ramit.
That's
and some
right.
people
That's
do
right.
it, like they calendar it.
Yes.
So the whole thing is a color.
Like time to think.
the whole thing is a
Yeah.
different color.
Yeah.
So
That would wig me out, I think.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I could probably operate either way.
Yeah, I'd be interested. Should we do a little test and try to like for 1 month of like, we can't do it coming up because I'm crazy. You gotta pray for me.
We're already procrastinating.
With the doctor
If we're going to do it, we got to do it right
Yeah,
now.
we're
like
already
tomorrow.
You know
we
we
should,
should
this
do.
is important.
Here's
we should
what
do
we
this
should do,
right
guys.
away in 6 months.
Here's what we should do.
Yeah, this doesn't work like that.
Here's what we should do. We should do a 1-day test, an experiment on Glenn, where we Gary V the shit out of his calendar for one
See,
day.
I feel like my day
Gary
is
V
like
your
that,
day.
but it's just when it comes.
But mind you, it's going to be 6 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Yeah, but that's.
But can I
12
get
a.m.
Yeah, but
Tyler
then that's
or
a
Andy to
reactive-
like run my day for me? Like I don't want to run my day and be. You know what I mean?
No, you'd have to have someone to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Get the
I think
intern in
this
here.
guy Jay that we met yesterday is probably his days are as much like Gary V's.
Who's that?
Oh man.
This guy Jay we met yesterday.
That's
We had
cool.
lunch with
Yeah.
in Indianapolis.
Yeah,
He's an
a
animal.
He's
He's
a
a
commercial
monster.
real estate lender who also invests with HMB. We know him through like Andy Beal and those
Oh.
guys.
Oh.
And so I've known this about him for a while, but the amount of stuff that he does in a day and a week is like,
Pretty intense.
it's pretty scary.
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, they have a big loan production, manages a lot of properties by himself. He's traveling every day. It's like I got to get a plane tonight. I got to come home tomorrow. I gotta
He travels every
texting
week.
Chris from an airplane at 12 p.m. and then again at 4 a.m.
I love
Like
it.
He self-manages
That's how I used to do
25 of his own properties, and he also manages a production staff of 30 in addition to his own production, in addition to traveling
Does
every
he
week.
want to self-manage?
Oh, yeah.
that's his thing. He's
He's been doing it for 20 years.
Wow.
No, he wants to do all this. He's not complaining. He wants more. He's trying
Yeah.
to create a business venture with us. Like he wants more stuff.
How old of a gentleman is
He's a
this?
few years older than us.
Yeah, probably about
God
45.
bless him. Does he have
so he-
family?
Oh, and
Yeah.
he doesn't miss like a time to go surfing or mountain biking or
Love it.
boating or any of
Love
that.
it.
Plays golf, plays everything. It's like,
Can,
how do
can
you
his
even do all
wife
this?
talk to our wives? Tell them that we need a little bit more freedom to go be animals, please.
Well,
Because I
mean,
love my
I-
wife
I
and
don't-
we have a great situation. But and this is me, not her. I feel like I'm not able to operate at that level because one, I'm lazy, but two is check out the gut. But two is because like I feel like I need to be home all the time. And this is obviously pandemic related more than family related. What was I traveling 100, 150 days a year? I mean, every week I'm on a plane or a train prior.
Pre-pandemic.
Yeah. I'll be back in 3 days, stay home for a week, go back for 4 days, be away for 18 days out of 30.
It's coming back. That kind of life is like
God willing.
available again.
I mean, it depends what you want.
But I don't know.
Does depend what you want.
In that time frame, I went from having a newborn to a soon-to-be 3-year-old, right? And another newborn on the way. And, how do you pivot from that? But anyway.
You might not want to.
I want to.
I mean, different people want different things. Like, this is.
Disappear.
I guarantee, dude, I guarantee this guy's wife does not want him in the house because he's a maniac. He just is. If he's not doing his own thing somewhere else and he's trapped in his house.
He's just super high energy.
Yeah.
Just very
and
high
which is
energy.
great, but that's
him. I
him.
love him, by the way.
But that's him. On somebody else, someone might think he's absolutely nuts.
That's right.
I mean, do you want to be a Gary V type? I mean, it's
not all the way.
It's keep in mind everything.
Most people are
everything
not. 99% of people aren't built for it.
Everything has a compromise. That was the biggest thing I got out of that book, Relentless.
Yeah.
Michael Jordan can be the best basketball player, but guess what? He's not good at.
Sacrifice a million other
things.
He's
not a good
else.
dad. He's not a good spouse. He's not a good anything else.
Yeah.
He might not. I'm not saying he's bad at it.
No.
But he's up here with this.
Blinders,
and that's
man.
It's all it is.
Yeah.
Blinders, yeah.
So if you want to be best at something, everything else has to lax. Or you can just be kind of mediocre at a lot of things.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that
No.
if that's what you want.
Yeah.
I think well-rounded is a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's Relentless is the Tim Grover book, Michael Jordan's trainer, for those who...
And that was the biggest takeaway of everything.
Yeah.
That's the reason. Michael Jordan finished games and he went back to the gym.
Yeah.
And he was the first one there. He chose to do that. But again, the things that he was not good at was, he got divorced. I don't know how many times.
So how many people are wired like that and aren't successful? And the reason I say that is because Jordan, Tiger Woods, whomever, has the excuse of Gary V. Well, look how successful I am over here. It sort of justifies all the other stuff that you have to sacrifice and compromise and ditch and ignore and all, whatever words you want to use to describe it. And how many guys are like that don't make it, that don't own their own business, that aren't real estate monsters, that aren't marketing monsters, that aren't world-beating all number one basketball players, and they sacrifice all that. It's just very interesting whether they've been better off sort of being just an average Joe sticking to the program. It's just very interesting.
No, it's super interesting. And you can't blame anyone for either direction. I can't blame the worst guy in the league.
Yeah.
No,
I'm talking
that has
about,
the capacity to be Michael Jordan. Potentially, I'm not saying he does, but just because he was hey,
sure,
I want to drive my kids to school every day, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. I don't want to go to the gym.
Oh, I wasn't even going that route. That's a very interesting route, that they sort of sacrifice their own potential success with the blinders by opening up a little bit more and doing up. That's interesting. I wasn't thinking of it like that.
Again,
I'm talking about the guy who played D2 basketball and his girlfriend's kind of okay with him pretending that he's playing in the NBA, but he's really not, and he's trying out for 5 years. Or the guy going for his tour card, for 20 years and never getting it, and living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Ranchos Palos Verdes or whatever.
Well, think about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett's wives had to babysit him.
100%.
You're taking the winningest of the winners and using them.
I know.
I'm talking about the average guy. They're the self-directed trader in Omaha. That's not Warren Buffett, that lives in a 1-bedroom because the next thing he does is going to make him the richest, and he's not. And he sacrificed all the same things Warren Buffett did.
Yeah.
You're talking about being all in on something and not being good at it?
Yeah.
I see. That's not fun.
Because we don't look at those examples.
Yeah.
Because for every Michael Jordan, there's 50 other wannabe Michael Jordans.
5 million.
5 million that only ever got to D2 that are still trying to make the,
and sometimes
the Euro League.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's
I see what you mean.
Yeah. I wasn't looking. What you said is actually more interesting, which is the guy who's sort of successful because he allowed regular life, if you will, to enter in, because he wanted. I wouldn't say allowed, because he wanted it to come. That's interesting. That's interesting.
And again, I think a lot of this is subconscious, because these kids, when they start, if we're talking about athletes right
you're
now,
not thinking about it like that.
They're in their 20s, but that's all they know. But again,
it's a fucking interesting conversation.
One of the most interesting things that I see related to this kind of topic and a lot of things is you're a different person when you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, right? And
Sure.
I see a lot of people in their 20s or in their 30s that are doing things that potentially we would have done, being naive, being young, being inexperienced, not seeing things. and as you get older, sometimes you do things kind of like your parents would.
Yeah. I mean, you're turning into your mom if you don't know it.
Like things,
which is great. I told Lauren that last night.
Could turn into things because like you're older and
Good
you're
luck with
mature.
that one.
In a smart way.
Oh,
no, in a good way.
In a positive way.
In a positive way.
I see.
Things. You become more mature with stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole psychology of money book was an eye opener for a lot of that stuff, and it's the reason why a lot of people that have grandparents that are in like their 80s and their 90s are terrified of being broke.
Yes.
Terrified.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't matter how much money they have. They are terrified because there was a day that everything was completely gone.
Both of our grandparents.
Everything could be
gone.
fine, and then it disappears, which we don't really know. We haven't lived that
100%.
so much.
Yeah,
besides,
there's also
2008, sort
a
of.
huge
But
difference.
Not the same. Not the same.
And not in our. I mean, not in the DC metro. I mean, I remember living
Not
with
as much
Sham
so.
at the time, being like, "Man, this didn't really hurt us that much." Like
being in the business, it was a little drastic. It was a little drastic.
And if you were heavy in stuff,
but no, it was
no,
not the
I
Great
was in
Depression.
radio and Sham was working for the government.
I mean,
we were.
Yeah.
He got
and
like
keep in mind,
3
like,
weeks.
a lot of places in like Northern Virginia drop 40%.
No, that's right.
In a very quick period of time.
Yeah.
But it's also like if we relate this to real estate investors, we talk about this a lot. If you're a real estate investor, you've only been in the business for 10 years.
Yeah, you've only seen
good. Good,
Yeah.
and like that's not to scare somebody, but like you gotta like scares me. Like we saw it. What happened in 07, 08. Like,
well, also look at every
snap.
single person in the industry that's sort of basically under 40.
Yeah.
Like all of my daughter's children's parents, and
Daughter's friends' parents.
my daughter's.
Wait,
three
that's
children.
how you're gonna represent everybody under the age of 40?
No,
Is
like
compare them to you and how old you are compared to your daughter's friends.
My daughter's
Parents?
friends' parents are all like
Younger than
32, 35, 38.
Gotcha.
Since they've been in the workforce, they've only seen phenomenal upside.
That's right.
Because in 2008, even my wife
Appreciating stock market,
market's
real
going
estate
up.
market, everything's just going up.
flying through the roof.
Crypto
Even
explodes.
that's
Everything's just
mid-30s
like
wife.
boom times.
They've only seen
right?
boom time, so they don't even as adults they don't know yet. And to the buddy that we're talking about, he's like, yeah, I want to do this and that. I was like, yeah, you can afford it, but put some money away so you don't have to worry about working anymore. And he's like, yeah, but we're not at our peak earning potential. I'm like, you're right. What you're not factoring in is if shit goes down, you have to be married to that job. And if shit goes down, others don't. And I don't want to have to be married to income.
Yeah.
I want to be married to fucking laying on the couch.
I just finished the Wealthy Gardener today, which is a phenomenal book. Really high.
Please
high recommend it.
Oh, no.
And I always like to write down quotes that I see at books, and I know you do too.
Yep.
Save money now, and money will save you later. Present day sacrifices are worth future rewards. I don't know. There's a lot of it. You start at, and we kind of talk about this. Early on, you're in the learning phase, then you go to the earning phase, then you go to the burning of money phase. So you're learning about money, earning money, and then burning money. All true. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole with why a lot of folks, are just making bad financial decisions, and they think that what they're doing now is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow.
Right.
And I hope it does.
Me too.
And it could, but there's going to be massive speed bumps along the way. There's going to be a point that your stock portfolio, and because a lot of folks in general, forget real estate investors, and real estate investors tend to be a little bit more active investors, and they're making other ways. But a general person who has a good salary, good money, they're investing it. They're putting as much as they can into their retirement accounts and their 401ks and things like that. There's going to be a day that 401k really takes a huge dip.
Yep.
And you got to be
hope you don't need it.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to be in a position to you're going to have to ride this out.
Yep.
Because in the long run it'll work out fine, but it's been like this for a while, and it's going to go like this.
So if our parents were knee jerk in 2008 and pulled their money out and didn't let it reset and double since then in the last 15 years,
No, that would have been insane.
that would have been insane.
Yeah.
Instead, they were just young enough that they didn't need it then because they were only in their late 50s. They let it ride, and look what happened. But if you pull it,
I mean, go do a compound interest.
or if you needed it, what if you just retired?
Go do a compound interest calculator of started investing at 20 compared to 30 or 40 or 50 or 60.
Right. It's a
You
joke.
can't
it's a
outperform. If you can't outperform, it doesn't matter how much money you make. You can outperform someone who started investing.
I mean, you
earlier
can,
than
but you have to
It's
make
so
you have
hard.
to make millions of dollars
Do you
to
remember
recoup that time.
I don't know if you remember when Dave came in here, Attorney Dave. and he was talking about one of his partners who.
Which attorney, Dave, were we talking
Crump.
about? Crump.
And he
Okay.
and he
I
and he
thought you
came.
were talking about the other one.
Yeah, see, there you go.
All right. Well, he has been in here, and he was telling me about one of his partners and about how he's a big investor and he lives
Yes.
well below his means.
Yeah.
And he saves. I don't even know the guy's name, but he saves a ton of money, and Dave's been trying to massively save more money and invest in more assets, and they make the same amount of money. And one guy started earlier, and he's here, and
So
he's here.
hard to catch
Dave's
up.
starting to make more money than him, and he'll still never catch up with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His
Can't
stuff
catch
will
it.
grow so much quicker.
Yeah.
And we talk about this. We talked about this in the whiteboard book years ago. That
Get it on Amazon right now, whiteboardbook.com.
Thanks.
It's not sexy to invest, $1 a day, $5 a day, $100 a month. It's just not. But like you got to freaking bucket that, put that to the freaking side, and just let it grow and continuing. Because guess what happens when you're making $3,000 a month right out of college? You're spending it, and then $5,000 a month a little bit later, and then you have a family. You're making $10,000 a month. You're not saving anything.
Yeah.
If you didn't save anything at $3,000, you're not going to save anything at $10,000. And everybody thinks it's like, oh well, I just don't have enough money to save. Well, after I make more money, then I can use that difference to save. It's like bullshit.
Yeah.
Your Honda Civic's going to 3 Series, they're going to a 5 Series, going to a 7 Series. Like that is what happens. And
Tell
you
me
know what
about it.
happened about one of our investors that we talk a lot with. He lives in a very big house. And he's
You
like,
also should have
there's
bought
not
that one on that golf course.
and
by
he's
the
like,
way.
there's not one there's not one neighbor I have that can write a check for $100,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that possible?
Oh, that's
he
the
goes
other
because
guy.
they're all high
Yeah.
paid W two guys who live in Bethesda and Potomac,
Totally.
and they went from doing their thing, and then they put their kids in private school, and then they're running up. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. High class check to check.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're broke, not making a lot of money, you're broke when you make a lot of money. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah, it's a mindset. It's a mindset.
But that can be changed. And I think that's the frustrating
can be
thing
changed.
because there's a lot of people that we all know that have started making a lot of money right now.
Yeah.
And the only difference is their lifestyles have changed.
I mean, I changed. I changed. I think a lot is because of being around you guys. And I wasn't a big spender, but I wasn't a big earner either. And I had some passive assets. I had my condos, and they were breaking even, and that's fine. That was a good decision when I bought them. Good enough. Not a great decision. Not a home run. They'll be a single or a double. They'll be
They're
fine. But I really put an emphasis on saving about a small one. Well, I put an emphasis on stop spending, and I remember when it was when I was at my first condo. I was buying like computers and just bullshit and dumb stuff.
Bullshit.
And
You
I
don't
was
need
working
it.
at
Trinkets.
Fox,
It's all
buying
crap.
dumb stuff, and I was like, "What am I doing?" And like, I wasn't using. I was using money that I had from. It was dumb. So I was like, all right, stop getting excited about buying stuff. Like, stop retail therapy, personal. This was like in early 2000s. And then, but I wasn't making a ton of money, but I was saving a little bit. And then about 10 years ago, I was like, all right, make a commitment to start saving. And then about 7 years ago, I really started saving money and earning more and working harder. But I think I attribute a lot to it to you guys. Being around the right people with the right mindset. And only as of late, and I admitted this to you on Monday, and I make fun of you about your passive income passion or obsession in this case, but I've actually but I've started.
It's a fun game.
It's
Definitely
fun,
an obsession.
but
It's a fun game.
I've started to let it penetrate even more and more, and I'm actually calculating. Okay, how much passive income am I going to have? Where is it coming from? What other investments can I put money in? And I'm dripping that into my family and into my wife, so that she can understand when we put this big check into this thing, it's not like I'm playing business. That check's going to come back 10, 20, 30-fold, and we're not going to be able to stop that check.
Mm-hmm.
And then guess what? Then we're good and ghetto.
Going back to the previous idea of like a psychology of money. So a lot of people have a misconception that they can't invest or shouldn't invest or aren't ready yet if they don't have X amount.
Yes.
And I went through this, and here's a little hack in case this helps anybody. When we started putting money into our lender accounts, right? We're a lending company. We lend our own money. We saw early on many years ago that we needed to be in the game alongside our investors. That's where the magic happens, right?
Yeah.
But I couldn't brain wrap going from 0 to $1 million. Magic happens around there. And like having 10, 20, 50 in there is not magic, right? It's just okay. So what I did to myself was I took that whole long-term goal out of my thinking. Obviously, it's still in my thinking at some level, but in order to write that $10,000 check, I did it a different way. I said, all right, this $10,000, just saying it earns 12%. We might get a little more in our business, but 12% for argument's sake.
Yeah.
1 point a month. Easy to calculate.
gives you $100 a month. And so I would tell myself, okay, that's $100 a month out of my own budget. And so then that $10,000 had meaning to me that I saw its value, instead of just be like, it's not $1 million, it's not even close, I'm gonna have to do this 100 times in order to get there. I was like, all right, that's it. Or maybe it was 20, and I'm like, all right, that's another $200 a month out of my budget. Not that I'm using that to pay, but like, you see what I was
100%
doing there?
is how I do it.
And I needed to get there to make myself comfortable with writing those
to
checks.
realize the value of what that money does for you. Well, because you had to do
to
it
understand
in a monthly
the value
month.
of it.
Yeah, correct.
Well, it's a cable bill, right? Month one, you put $10,000 in or whatever. Now you got your cable bills taken care of.
And that's like
mentally, you're not going to use that to pay your cable.
Yeah.
Well, no, what you do
Well,
is
your Verizon bill's gone,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
later on, like, your car payment's gone.
exactly.
Then your whole life, and then your whole life's on autopilot.
covered,
Financially,
right?
it's one less thing to think about.
And the
And
beauty
that's how
of
I
it
had
is
to
while
do
we're
it.
still working and earning, all that cable bill that we don't have to pay for and car payment that we don't have to pay for that we're already paying for,
It's
we throw
compounding,
that
yeah.
back into, and that's
Yeah.
when you get into the boner
gets into-
land of compounding.
And it doesn't take listen, think about this. You know how a year from now,
Yeah.
how long does that seem like that is?
Forever.
Like,
It's tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Where were you a year ago today?
In our house. In our house, trapped.
Because it was yesterday.
We're trapped like rats.
10 years ago was yesterday. 10 years from now is
Totally.
eternity. So
That's
you
for sure.
you think about, hey, I need to save $1 million and you have zero right now. You know how hard that is?
Yeah.
You know, because people look at it and say, oh, well, if I save a few $100s a month, it's going to take me 50 years to reach $1 million. And it doesn't. But like that's the way they equate it. So it's like start something small and autopilot it.
Well, I mean, I look at my soon-to-be 3-year-old daughter in 2 months. And, you know, we put whatever we put away every month for her $529 for her college plan. And some would say that's not a good investment, invest in another thing, blah, 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 blah.
It's fine.
Well, we're 3 years
I
in.
like $529.
It's real money.
It's just 3 years in. Like, we almost don't have to save for her college anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because
real money.
in 15 years, that money, whatever's in it now, is going to cover school.
Yeah. No,
And
I mean,
so,
do it I mean, looking at my 12-year-old and
right.
my 2 8-year-olds, like,
Right.
you know, a lot of money in that college savings plan.
When do you stop that, though?
$209 at a time.
Yeah, exactly. But when
Never.
Yeah,
I mean,
but when do you stop putting into that? Because you can only use it for so many things.
Yeah,
And
You
like
could use
your-
it for more things than
it's-
tuition, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's-
can use it for like
I don't-
private school. You could use it for cousins and families, school and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
And
you can
and
also
can
use
do
it for
one-
like
you can do
college
one
living
for
expenses and stuff
You
like
can
that.
do one per spouse too, by the way, if you need
Yeah.
to. But no, if you do one by yourself, I don't see it paying for college personally.
What do you mean if you do one?
If you're only putting $209 in a month,
I'm doing more than that.
so 20. Well,
But whatever.
if you're doing more than that, then it defeats that purpose because you're not getting the.
I'm
the
not
ben-
getting. You only
the
get
benefit.
$2,500 tax.
And it's just on the state side. It's not on the federal side,
Yeah.
so it's minimal. But it is what
yeah,
it
the
is.
no,
tax
I'm
benefit's not
I'm not
huge.
getting the benefit past $2,500, whatever. It's just a bucket that's filling up.
Oh, okay.
But my point is when does one stop contributing to that?
Just keep contributing to it because worst case scenario, you just get taxed on.
You
just
get taxed
on the income,
oh, okay.
on the gain.
So there's the answer.
Yeah.
You know, if you trust the assets that they're investing in,
Yeah.
obviously. Which
And
who knows?
who knows?
It's market driven,
right?
and it's heavy stocks, right?
Yeah,
and
but
low
so-
bonds,
so
And,
let
we'll,
me-
and we're going to see a dip in
And
between
we're
now
gonna
and then,
well,
now
of
in
course
college
we
time.
are. But you know what? Here's the other thought. I have been scared of the market in the dip. As you guys both know, I keep too much cash not in the market because I'm heavy in real estate and I want to make sure that I can pay the rents and the mortgages and the condo fees and all those things. So guess what I've done in the last 3 or 4 years? I've lost a tremendous amount of market upside in staying heavy cash. So guess what's going to happen because it's me is now I'm going to put more money in the market when we're about to dip. And that's just how it goes. You got to
That's
be
okay,
in,
though.
but you
That's
got to be
just
in
how
the
it
game.
goes.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Just get in and stay there. Buy the dip. And then just double down when it dips.
What
Like,
What was
it'd
that
be fine.
book? Simple Plan to Wealth. That one that.
Yeah, a simple path to wealth, something like that.
Yeah, it was a little bit 101, but that's okay. You know, listen, even
It's
those
just good positive reinforcement.
That's right.
That's right. Even those 101 books, this same thing. Wealthy Gardener. It's positive reinforcement. You catch something. It was like, you never have time in the market. It doesn't matter. The best time to do it is now.
Yeah.
Even if it freaking dips 40% tomorrow, it is what it is.
I mean,
Yeah,
you know, I don't want it
even
to dip
little
40%,
101.
but I'd love to buy tomorrow if
Dude,
it dipped 40%.
even
I'll
little
tell you what.
But I
101.
mean, but psychology money won't because you'd be scared.
Yeah, of course.
I-
Just like we talked about at the beginning of the pandemic.
Crypto, it's the same thing.
Chris, I think we nailed about the bottom of the market. We said like 15 or 17. We were sitting in here. I
What,
remember
the
talking to
Dow?
you about it when the pandemic was happening. And I'm like, it's buying season, boys. Let's go. I was high-fiving myself. I'm like, we got it. War chest. Let's go. Didn't buy one thing because scared to death.
That's right.
Psychology of money, baby. It's
I mean,
most powerful thing.
Yeah.
Psychology is.
Oh, we can go on this for a long time. We should probably pick up on this next time.
Yeah, we should do a part 2. This is
Yeah.
part 1.
Yeah.
There,
These lights are
I don't-
melting me, by the way.
Are they?
Oh, I'm so hot.
Feels wonderful. Feels like a sauna podcast. Everything.
It's
Ian,
you know what it
Ian's
is,
really missing out
Chris?
today.
It's an infrared sauna.
It's an infrared sauna. That's right.
Will we get a suntan after this? That'd be great if
know.
my left side of my face is
I
sunburned.
don't think that's how it works.
Yeah, Ian's missing out. Maybe. So let's do part 2.
So I guess we decided we don't need Ian. Got
This
it.
is part 1.
Okay.
If we need to talk high level real estate, we need Ian.
Yeah,
True.
No, we need Ian.
Oh, of course we do.
Ian's a good,
Ian, we miss
Ian's
you.
a good character for the podcast.
Yeah.
Of course.
This is our way of saying we miss you, Ian.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if he listens to the end of the podcast, he'll get the compliment. If he doesn't, he'll never know because
This
we
is like
kind of
the
tore him
post
up
that-
earlier on.
Yeah, this is like the post that Terry put on Facebook. Like, did you read
Yeah.
to the end? Like, Ian, did you listen to the end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He will. He's got a long drive, like 3 hours every day, to and from,
brutal.
for some unknown reason.
It's brutal.
Cool. Well, this was part 1. Let's do part 2 in the future, boys. I actually had an interesting topic that we can related to this exact same thing in a demo of people that fail at this. That's the teaser.
Okay. Let's do it next week.
Oh,
Remind me next time.
what a teaser for part 2. I mean, as a cliffhanger, a professional cliffhanger.
Yeah. Bye, boys. Later.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.